Nigeria's federal government has approved a temporary policy to exempt selected basic food items from duty rates and value-added tax. The policy, which takes effect today, August 15, 2024, aims to make essential commodities more affordable to citizens amid high food costs. Eligible items include rice, sorghum, millet, maize, wheat, and beans. The participant companies must meet certain requirements, such as being incorporated in Nigeria and having a minimum operational history. The policy requires companies to sell at least 75% of imported items through recognized commodities exchange and keep comprehensive records. The Nigeria Customs Service will monitor compliance with penalties for non-compliance. The government aims to address food security challenges and ensure basic foodstuffs are accessible to all Nigerians. To further discuss this, I'm joined by Dr. Femi Egbesola, Chairman, Small Business Owners Association of Nigeria. Dr. Femi, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good. So, Doctor, please, do you think that the zero duty rate and VAT exemptions on selected basic foods, like we've just mentioned, will impact small businesses in the food industry? And what benefits or what challenges do you foresee for business owners themselves?
Well, whatever government does this time to improve food, to reduce food inflation, I think is always in the right direction. Coming up with the removal of VAT on food items and food importation to some extent will help to ease the tension, ease the scarcity and inflation in the food area. However, it is instructive to mention here that the conditions that surround this implementation of this policy may not really get us what we need in terms of having enough food and at reasonable prices. For example, in the food and agricultural sector, major of the players are those in the micro and small businesses, those who are doing very small sustenance farming that are not already licensed. Many of them are not registered with CAC. The major farmers of the country are not registered with CAC at the moment. I also discovered that they do not have all these records that government needs, and they form about 90% of the farming sector. So if you are bringing a policy that does not include this majority of the sector in the farming sector, you may not really get it right. What we have now is a policy that is affecting just about 6-7% of the farming sector, and to us, that is not good enough. What we will have expected is for government to look at how to incentivize that particular sector, pulling it down from bottom to up, enabling and intervening in the sector by empowering those who are really the players of the sector, who are the very subsistent farmers, small micro holders that are able to produce what we eat at the moment, get them the kind of mechanism and the education that they need to farm, the kind of equipment that they need to farm, the kind of technology that they need to farm with, finance them to be able to farm well, and at the same time help them to be able to offtake whatever they produce so that they do not run at a loss at the end of the day. To us, some of this is what is going to be the lasting and sustainable solution to farming challenges, not just the removal of VAT for a very few players in that agri sector.
Dr. Egbesola, let's take a look at the requirements for these small businesses. Take note, small business. They're required to at least have minimum operational history in Nigeria, and also they need to be incorporated in Nigeria. So for these requirements, are these requirements feasible for small businesses, and do you think that they will hinder or help the policies effectively?
It's not feasible. Like I did mention the other time, 90-95% of farmers in Nigeria are in the micro and the nano sector, meaning that many of them are not registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission known as CAC, and they do not have records of their farming business. So they may not be able to benefit really from this policy. And this sector forms about 95% of the entire farming sector. So it's not going to really be impactful in the sense that it is not going to be able to intervene and empower the farmers who are really feeding the nations. What we need to do at this time is to begin to look at ways that this policy can really impact those in that sector, help them to upscale and improve in their farming business so that we have more food in the nation, more food for people to eat, and at a cheap and affordable prices for the citizens. That is what we need to be talking about now. Yes, removal of food, of VAT for imported product is good, but it's going to only affect a very small sector of the economy. We want something, a policy that will be more sustainable, that is going to be long-lasting and will be long-term, such that when we start it, we'll be sure that over time we'll be able to overcome our food inflation and our food insecurity, such that everyone in the country will be able to have food on the table. Food is the number one commodity that every citizen of the country needs. It should not be a luxury. It should be a necessity that is affordable by all. And the best way to achieve it is to empower those who are the majority in that sector, the nano and the micro farmers.
So with that in mind, noting that this is not favorable for small business owners, as you've just noted, do you think that this policy will achieve what it set out to do?
Yes, to some extent it will. It will to some extent, but it's going to be a short-term solution. It's going to be a short-term solution in the sense that those who are importing this food in larger quantities, those are structured businesses that have the capacity to import in larger businesses, are not able to sustain the kind of food subsistence that we need in the country at the moment. And for that reason, we may have some of these processes encumbered by corruption that we always have over time in this country. We would have expected that the lasting solution, like I did say the other time, is to ensure that we empower farmers from the bottom to the up to be able to produce enough to sustain us and perhaps begin to import. By the time to begin to export rather, by the time we are importing food into the country and releasing VAT exemption, yes, it is going to have some short-term effect, but it's not the solution that we need at this time. We want farmers, all strata of farmers, to be empowered to do what they need to do. We need government to provide policies that will ensure that our youths are back to the farm. And even the oldest ones that are already in the farm are secured to do the farming business they want to do in a way that it will be productive and it will be sustainable. We also want government to come up with intervention that will help farmers to be able to enjoy farming business in the sense that it will be profitable, and for government to be able to obtain whatever excess they have, so that at no point in time will they run at a loss. If we are able to do this as a government in the nation, I am so sure that in a short time, we will be able to sustain the food we have, we'll be able to employ more people in the farming and agriculture business, and there may be no need for the issue of VAT removal.